morning, everyone. Welcome to Carpe Vinum, Edition 1, Generation Y. I will also do my very quick thanks to Ross and to Sir, without whom, obviously, something like this doesn't get off the ground. So, great to hear that the London Wine Fair is going forward with this next year as well. Although it may not be with us, we have to pay for it just like everybody else, and to Sir for their kind sponsorship this year. Generation Y is a fascinating enigma wrapped up in perhaps something that we just don't understand, which is the world. Some of us obviously are part of Generation Y. I do not count myself as one of them. But the purpose of this research was to really train quite a close eye on them, to try and understand a bit more about who they are, what they think, how they interact with wine, and most importantly, how, as an industry, we are going to bring them into our world in such a way that they will be paying, well, our wages, possibly our pensions, and certainly keeping the wine industry healthy in the next generation. To do this, we did a lot of quantitative research. We did about 4,000 online interviews, not all with Generation Y, it has to be said. And we did some focus groups here in London a few months ago. The results can be found in this book. I hope you all have a copy of it. We did have quite a lot here today. They were also being given out at the entrance, and exhibitors get one for free as well. If for any reason you're unlucky enough not to have one in your possession now, come and talk to me afterwards. I think we've got a few spare copies. Alternatively, be here early tomorrow when 1,000 more will be on the tables ready to be given away. So, I'm sure you have all read this and digested its contents and are intimate with our portrait. So it occurred to me when planning this event that you didn't really want to hear too much from me. I mean, I can stand here for hours and bang on about numbers and so on, as I'm sure many of you have understood over the years. So I figured, instead of telling you about it, we would give you a bit of a show. So, with that in mind, and without further ado, you've read the book, now watch Carpe Vinum, the play.
Yeah, come in.
You're
Hi.
James, yeah?
James, I am. Sarah.
Sarah.
Yes, hello. Mwah. Good to meet you.
Hi.
You find the place okay?
It's not here yet, no?
No. It's going to be 10 minutes. We've got a couple more people coming.
Cool.
And then
Should I put those
surprise.
in the fridge?
Yeah.
I've got a special offer. I've got white and rosé, because I know not everyone likes rosé, so yeah.
Yeah, I'll pop those in the fridge. That's
Cool.
good. Have you just come from work or?
Yeah, we had one of those early lunches that turned into a late lunch that turned into a,
Oh yeah, I know
Yeah.
those only too well. Would you like to start off the evening with a glass of this? Really lovely champagne.
Yeah, sure, yeah, what else can we down? Yeah.
Yes, while I pop those in the fridge. This is a great way to start the night, I promise.
Okay, cool.
Enjoy. It's a really fine dry wine.
It's quite sour, actually.
It's dry.
Yeah.
But enjoy. Cheers.
Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah,
Sarah.
you too.
Oh, already.
Hi!
Hi, Nicola. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Been such
Really,
a long
really
time.
good to see
I'm not
you.
late, am I?
No,
She's not
you're
here.
fine. Don't worry.
I couldn't find an Annie.
Calm down.
Sorry.
Richard.
Hi, I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Nicola used to work with me up in Liverpool.
Oh yeah, on maternity leave. Oh, such a long time without drinking. Oh my God, how did this video? I wonder how you like your whites.
Yes, thank you. That's a lovely spread there. I'm going to stick those in the fridge. We are starting on this. This is a Chablis.
Oh right. It's like a Chardonnay, isn't it?
It's sort of, yes, it's made from the same grape. Chablis has a different, I think, fermenting process. I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Nice.
What did you have? You had a boy or a girl?
I had a girl.
Very
Oh, she's lovely. It's just that, you know, well, I'll tell you a secret. When I gave birth, I had
Yeah, it's a fermenting process.
That's it. Right.
Go in.
Hi,
Hi there.
how you doing?
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Jimbo. Jammo.
James.
James, I knew it. How you doing? Alright.
It's Jack, isn't
I've
it?
got some beers, they're a little bit warm, so just grab them from the offie on the way down, but
That's fine. I'll pop.
stick them in the freezer,
I'll
that'll be good
pop
to
them in.
go, alright?
I'll pop them in the fridge.
Hello girls, how you
Hello.
doing? I'm Jack.
Hi, I'm Nicola.
Hello, Sarah. Jack.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, nice to meet you, alright.
Yeah.
Where can I chuck that? And then,
Yeah.
alright.
Okay.
I missed it, I thought it was going to be late. I came straight from footy practice and I'm a little bit...
Oh, you're a bit
These are my
muddy.
good trousers
Well,
as well.
That's fine.
We play football.
Yeah, Saturday league. Yeah, scored, didn't I? Celebrated.
Well, let's celebrate. Have some of this.
I might just wait for the beers if it's alright.
Actually, do you
Well,
have
I
some
mean,
lemonade you can put in?
You don't want to put lemonade in that.
What
Maybe
is it?
some ice or something.
Oh!
No.
Chablis!
Chablis.
This is a nice drop, this, isn't it? My mum loves this stuff.
It's pronounced Chablis.
That's
It's made with I was just explaining to the
same,
it's
isn't
not
it?
tomato. I was just explaining to the girls it's made with a Chardonnay grape. It's a different fermenting process or something like that.
Can
Do
you?
you have any ice or something?
It's more expensive, isn't it?
You know what you should do? I can't do this at the moment, but I read this online recently. You shouldn't put ice in white wine, you should put grapes.
Oh, really?
Same varietal
Grapes?
as the wine in the freezer. Use them as ice cubes.
Why would you put grapes in crushed grapes?
So that they cool down the wine without diluting it.
Would that make it?
like strawberries in it to make
No.
it a bit sweeter?
Would that make it dry though? Would that make it like taste like a bit sour?
I don't think so. I think the idea is if you use the same varietals, it's all online.
I've never heard of anyone putting food in their drink.
You know, that's
Supposed to
bloody
be made
good.
like a punch or something.
This stuff's really expensive, isn't it?
Can
Is
you
it an
find it
offer?
online?
You can find it online. I think it's
Can you find
it's
it
a
on
much more
Canada?
refined.
I usually buy everything on a platter, you know.
On Ocado, yeah, I'm sure
Buy
you
your
can find
meals
this on
with your
Ocado.
wines, I know everything by that.
I'm sure you could. I just prefer to be in the wine aisle, looking and knowing what I'm dealing with. You know.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suppose you only know what you're going to get when you can see, you know.
Yeah, and you know if you want the really fine stuff, then
And you get the best
track that.
2-for-1 offers online there as well.
Well, you can
Go
get
online,
great
yeah.
offers online, actually. You know,
Really?
yeah.
You can.
Maybe that's the answer. Every time I go in the wine aisle, I swear it gets longer.
I know what you mean.
Well, the selection has always been growing in supermarkets.
I don't know, I just find it really
you have a point.
confusing.
I don't have
Sticks
time to
to the brand.
go.
I'll tell you what we've got coming later.
Just know what you're going to get.
Coming later. I have a bottle of, for when Richard gets here, a bottle of Krug champagne.
Oh yeah.
Is that German?
No.
Oh, I love
It's
Prosecco.
champagne. It's from Champagne.
I love Prosecco.
Well, that's a very different thing.
You should have got Prosecco, it was on offer. I saw it. I went down, yeah.
Okay, guys. Prosecco and champagne are very, very different things. Champagne has to be from the Champagne region of France.
I thought
Okay?
Prosecco was just
It's
Italian
sparkling.
champagne.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's not from Champagne, so it's not.
But they're all
I don't fully understand it.
sparkling wine, aren't they?
Yeah, but I mean, you could say that about, you know, Carver and Krug, which
What's
I have.
Carver then?
Carver's from Spain.
It's all the same,
It's
isn't it?
slightly different.
Yeah, it's good
It's too
German.
confusing. I
No,
can't-
it's not German. It's
Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's got slow now.
Krug champagne.
Yeah, so.
Founded by Joseph Krug in 1843. There you go.
So it's not German.
Based in
Yeah,
Wien.
but it's
Right,
not
okay.
been made
It's
by the
interesting.
same. It's only been made like a year ago, so it doesn't really count as the same thing, does it?
I don't want to brag, but
I
my
don't.
beers are triple filtered, so
I don't even know what that means.
good stuff.
Richard should be here pretty soon, guys. So surprise party pose is ready.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Come in.
Yep.
Surprise! Think about beers.
So more from our Generation Y a little bit later. let's just review a little bit of what we've been hearing. I don't know whether you caught during the conversation actually how difficult Generation Y's lives are right now. They're juggling a whole lot of stuff. They're trying to do the things that are fun, but at the same time they're probably working longer hours than we did. They've got a sort of always-on work culture, which for those working in offices means that their BlackBerry is constantly telling them, things that they need to be doing work-wise, and they don't have a great deal of kind of relaxed home life, particularly if, in the case of the mainstream in the making, you heard she's just had a child. Things are just very, very busy at the moment. Their lifestyle's in flux because they're transitioning, as we all did, from the world of being a student, young person, into a slightly older world. The difference now is that they've really got quite a lot more on their plates, and also more that they could be doing. Wild Confident, who constantly hits his phone to find out stuff, is a familiar picture now in most parties and most train stations, and indeed in the kitchen table in my house. They're a group that have got a lot of things going on, which means that actually being able to talk to them in a clear and coherent way is quite hard. They won't not hear you. There's a lot of noise there. So, just a quick recap of some of the work that we've done. There are around 7 million of these people. There are around a quarter of the UK wine drinking population currently. They're worth approximately 32–33% of the market by value. Now, why are they worth slightly more? Particularly seeing as they drink slightly less. And the principal reason is how they drink and where they drink. So particularly they're drinking in the on-premise, where they're spending a bit more money. And when they are buying in the off-premise, they're generally buying because they need it right now. So whilst they are obviously conscious of offers and they will take them when they can, they may not be in a position to buy at the best price. So they're going to the convenience store and maybe paying £9 for that bottle of Echo Falls that you saw come onto the stage. This is, again, just straight from your magazine. This is kind of how they describe themselves. Carefree, open-minded, tech-savvy, self-assured, hard-working. As you can see from our scene here, the self-assurance is actually really only skin deep. Information is at everyone's fingertips. Unfortunately, our ability to retain it isn't. So when we start talking about where Shapley comes from, what it is and so on, Generation Y will inevitably use the reference book that's in their pocket, it's also their phone. So they'll want to be able to have some fast facts about whatever it is that they are talking about, but they don't really want to dwell on it, nor do they have the kind of mind space to really retain huge encyclopedias of information, because life is just moving too fast. So this translates into how they approach the wine category. For them, it is exciting, and I guess you get the sense from our play that some people are actually quite into it, and even the ones that aren't that into it, they're mildly curious. But it's intimidating. It's sort of, lots of language they don't understand, lots of words that might or might not have the meaning that they think. They want quick decisions, something that's reassuring, and they want things that are easy to drink. It's not uncommon for people in this industry to imagine that younger people tend to have slightly sweeter tooths, and actually our research bears this out, as does most of the spending patterns and sales patterns that you see for younger people in wine. And the biggest issue of all is that wine doesn't have quite that consistency that you expect from and get in things like beers, ciders and spirits. Once you've had one bottle of Heineken, you kind of know what that next bottle is going to taste like. If you go and buy a bottle of Merlot today and you go back into a different store and say, I like Merlot, so I'm going to try this one, The sad truth is that actually you could be getting a very nice product, but it doesn't taste nearly the same as the Merlot you had last week. The grape variety might be the same, but the winemaking, terroir, background, provenance, etc. could be very different. And this confuses people and makes them unhappy. So, again, you might have just heard it in the exchanges there. Young people, generally speaking, are buying convenience, or buying for convenience. Wine is typically a distress purchase in that they have a need, they go to a shop, they drink what they buy. There's no people with big wine racks in their very small flats. It just doesn't work. Living in shared accommodation, I'm sure you either know or remember that stuff just disappears, all right? They've got a problem with own label because it comes back to their feeling of intimidation. If they buy something that's own label, that's very clearly own label, they may be making some kind of social error in their own mind. Now, it may well be that they end up buying something that's own label, but they just don't know it's own label. It might be written very small, or it may not even actually have the name of the retailer on it because it's a brand that the retailer has created. But they have a sort of barrier when it comes to own label. They really like brands, especially if those brands deliver the consistency that they are hoping for. So brands actually work for this group more so perhaps than any other wine drinking segment. And finally, they've got a sort of slightly love-hate relationship at the moment with the discounters, but the affinity levels are growing. And one of the reasons we think that their discounter affinity may be sort of blossoming is that actually in discounters, generally speaking, the wine range is very small. And it's much more manageable for a group like this who just want a quick decision and want to just get to yes. It's interesting that my trips to the discounter wine aisles recently, I've seen quite a lot of quality cues being put forward rather than saying this is really cheap. It's the message seems to be actually this is okay, this is really good stuff. It's been selected by an MW, it comes from a really nice region, and it's proper stuff. And that seems to be resonating with this group. Like nice and simple steps to get to yes, and they don't necessarily want that much in the way of choice. Talking of choice, for this group, and indeed quite frankly for a lot of people outside of this group, wine lists remain a very difficult area. They have a lot of choices on them. People don't necessarily know how to navigate them. There have been, certainly over the last few years, in certain on-trade outlets, a great deal of progress made in terms of trying to give people a better set of criteria on which to choose. So taste profiles, styles, etc., as well as just price and where it comes from. For Generation Y, wine lists remain a sort of unspoken nightmare. Finally, we asked people in focus groups, we also in the quant research, about how they deal with advertising, whether it be for wine directly or for kind of retailer advertising featuring wine. And the feedback we get is that actually, unlike previous generations, this generation is probably more aware and, not to say cynical, but certainly conscious and pragmatic about branding, advertising, and the messages that they're receiving. They've probably, over the course of their lives, received more advertising messages than any other group in history. And they have filtering mechanisms. They are very good at compartmentalizing their view about a particular brand or a particular brand advertising campaign. And when it comes to buying, they may or may not choose to believe what that brand or advertising campaign is saying. They're certainly not that interested in consuming advertising when they're socializing. And one of the things that's our industry, every industry, is grappling with right now is actually how you get social media to speak to people in a way that gets them minded to buy something without, frankly, switching them off. Most people that we spoke to in this research use social media for that very purpose, social media. They don't use it to find out what they should be buying, at least not directly. So there is still this huge knotty problem about where people get their information from that allows them to make better purchasing decisions. It may well be from their friends, but it may well not be in the sort of nice, clean, direct way that we as an industry would like them to have. That's all I wanted to say for the moment. What I'd like to do now is to get each of our characters to speak to us for a little bit, just say a few words, bring to life a little bit more about what we're talking about. Each of them will speak in turn. I'll just go and sit down and get out of the way. So what I would like to do first of all is to ask Nicola to come and talk to us a little bit.
Hello, I'm Nicola, I'm 32 and I just had a baby. A lovely baby girl. Telling you it was a nightmare not drinking for 9 months. I did have a cheeky glass of Prosecco the night she was born. And well, after that, actually our budget is very tight with the new family and everything, so we can only have wine with dinner. We rarely go out. Well, when we do go out, I get very confused by the wine list. I'm telling you that. I let my husband decide everything. Usually they're in the size of a book, aren't they? Don't know what to choose. Well, I always go for white, that's for sure. And when I order wine at home, I usually go for Ocado, perfect offers, and combine it with your meal as well, so you know what you're eating and what you're drinking. It's fantastic. I also watch a lot of TV. Well, 9 months at home, there's nothing much you can do really. So Saturday kitchen, yeah. Learned a lot. Well, it was a bit pricey. The things that we were suggesting were a bit pricey. So before we could, let's say, have a bottle of wine for 10 quid. Now I wouldn't spend more than 6, 7, possibly. And we went on holidays. That's where we got a baby. We went on holidays, so package ones, yeah, I know. But then they did have wine in offer with every meal, so I got to try loads. I didn't like the very sweet ones, to be honest. I'm more of a bubbly wine thing girl. So there you go. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Jack. I'm 27 and I'm the young kitchen casual in your wine program today. I work in retail, so because I don't earn a lot of money, I don't really spend much on alcohol. It's a bit of a luxury for me. Generally when I do drink, it's once a week, you know, a few beers with the lads after football, and you can't really stand there swirling a glass of Rioja singing football songs, can you? Do you know what I mean? It's beers, isn't it? Generally I'll only buy wine if I'm throwing a house party or something. Go to the wine section, I'll look for 3 for £10, white, red, rosé, job done. Turn and run away before anyone asks me any questions. I find the whole process a bit intimidating, to be honest. I mean, you walk into this massive wine aisle, you've got wines from France, you've got wines from Spain, you've got New World wines, Australian, you've got wines from Hogwarts or wherever else. So I mean, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. I don't know what a good grape is or a good year or something. I look at the prices, half off, deals they're doing, grab a couple of bottles and head to the beer section, because with beers, I know what I'm getting, it's the same each time, you know, and when you're on a budget, consistency is pretty important to me. That's it.
So yeah, hi, I'm James. I'm what they call a wired confident, apparently, which I quite like. So I guess I got to know wine through my parents, who, like everyone I lived with until not that long ago. I'm 29. I've got a fair old bit of disposable income with me, so I like to go out a bit with wine, and kind of proud in a reserved way to have got where I am now, which is a position where I can navigate a short wine list quite effectively. I mean, anything more than a page long, just I get a bit lost. But I like giving myself and spending the time to research what I want to know. I like finding out that I like Chablis, and I'm a fan of dry whites. I'm a fan of Chilean Merlot and so on. I enjoy accruing that knowledge and knowing that I can pick out what I genuinely want. I don't have to rely on sales or those little things in the supermarket which tell you what you should be buying to eat with what. Buy this if you're having slow roast lamb rubbish. I don't like that. It can be tremendously rewarding if you know and you're right that you get just the right bottle of wine for your evening, and then it's great being able to spend up to 30 quid for that is well worth it as far as I'm concerned. I like it a lot. So I guess that's how I approach wine. I like to discover it myself. You can of course follow sort of online info, which can be very useful. I read the odd online review, I guess. There's not much going on with wine as far as I'm concerned in social media. But if you look for the websites and you want to know what you like, then that's the place to go. And then you can pop down to Waitrose, find it, and then go to Aldi and buy it for 5 quid cheaper. Cheers.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am what you would call a female indifferent. I kind of half drink wine, half drink spirits. If I'm at a club, I never drink wine. I tend to stick to like gin and tonics or alcohol mixes. But I do drink wine in pubs and I drink wine at home. Also because what you're going to pay for a glass of wine in a club, you can get a whole bottle at home. So I just find it a little bit more sort of economically efficient. I kind of tend to stand to the brands I like as well. I find it really confusing. You pick a wine and you think you like it, and then you go back the next day and the discount's different, so you choose something else and it just tastes horrible. So now I pretty much stick to my brands. I like Echo Ford, Blossom Hill, sometimes the Garnier one. I really like my rosés, and I quite like white wine as well, but normally I have that as a spritzer. Normally with friends as well, because you can like share a bottle, so it's quite a bit nicer really. Also if you've got people coming around to your house, I just find, I'm not 19 anymore, so rather than offering them like a vodka, you can offer them wine and you kind of feel like you're being a little bit more, sophisticated. It's a bit healthier as well, isn't it? That's pretty much it. Thank you.
So, thank you, Sarah. Let's just recap a little bit who these people are. Again, your books should be pretty comprehensive on this one. So we've got our wired confidence, our mainstream in the making, our female indifference, and our young kitchen casuals. Now, in my amazing slide making capabilities, this is roughly the proportions that you find them in the world. So mainstream in the making, the female indifference, kind of got a few more bodies out there, wired confidence, young kitchen casuals, slightly fewer. So if we just go back to James, not Jimbo, he's a wired confident. It's around 17% of the 18 to 34s, and actually, a reasonable amount of volume and of one of the higher levels of spending. They think they know what they're doing, and that is partly what's driving them to learn more. They think that part of their social clothing involves knowing a little bit about wine. Not much, but just enough to make it seem that they are the right people to talk to at the dinner party, or at the drinks, or in the pub. they actually, when it comes down to it, will be quite brand reliant. The kind of brands that they're into are things like Casillero, Wolf Blass, Campo Viejo, stuff you find in most supermarkets, and stuff that, generally speaking, costs a little bit more. Whilst James here is clearly a Chablis fan, actually there's a bit more red wine drinking in this group than there is in some of the other young people segments. Our mainstream in the making, they are a pretty large chunk of the young people in the wine category at the moment. They are basically our sort of bedrock of the next generation. These are people who one day will hopefully be buying wine to drink most days. They will have families, they will live in houses that allow them to store a little bit of wine. They may go on holidays to places that involve a bit of wine drinking or even wine tasting or even learning about wine. They are also people that are going to be buying all the offers and basically trying to make sure that they don't spend any more than they absolutely have to. It's a treat and a reward for them. They are, at the moment, part of a very squeezed economic bunch of people. So these are people who've seen their incomes probably fall in real terms more than anybody else. They didn't start out low, let's be clear. These are people who, generally speaking, middle class, upper middle class, in the professions. They've had two incomes. They may now be down to one income because one person has left the workforce, probably temporarily, to have children, or they may be about to contemplate that, or they're trying to buy a house, in which case they're spending nothing on anything because to get a raised deposit these days is pretty hard going. So price is a huge factor for them. Finding something they can rely on is a huge factor for them too. They're taking the offers. As Sarah just told you, female indifference, very brand-led. They actually have quite a narrow repertoire of brands that are led by what one might call kind of mainstream white stroke rosés. They have generally a sweet tooth. They're looking for something that's very easy drinking. Actually, this wasn't mentioned here, but they and the mainstream making are quite into Prosecco and cheaper forms of sparkling wine. Female indifference are especially taken with some of the sort of what one might call wine-based drinks that are now proliferating, and also smaller formats because they might buy 4 bottles of small bottles to share with friends either outside or they just kind of keep them handy for when a friend comes by, rather than buying the whole bottle, which as Sarah said, it's very difficult to know when you're going to drink it, and you kind of need a group to drink it with. Finally, football playing Jack, all right. He's a relatively small and not particularly important part of the wine category at the moment, albeit he is still buying wine occasionally, and he's sort of looking for something that basically answers a difficult question, which is, I have to do this, I have no idea, how do I sort it out? It's as if you were going to try and buy a soy sauce, except no soy sauce brand that you found in the supermarket had any words in English on it. It was all in Japanese, and it would be quite hard for you to work it out. That's kind of how Jack feels. It's very much an occasional treat, or probably an occasional obligation, more than anything else. Okay, so that's enough chuntering from me. My friends here agreed to stay for a few more minutes, and we've got fantastic. And what's going to happen now, this will be quite interesting, is that we're going to have a Q&A, and they're going to stay as their characters, and I'm hoping that you have, based on what you've just heard and what you've just read, some good questions for them to answer. If you could address your question first of all to me, and I'll sort of punt it to the segments, either the ones that you've named in your question, or if you haven't made one, I'll kind of make it up. When you ask a question, I think, have we got a roving mic? Yeah, we've got a roving mic that really brought to your table, as it were. Can you tell us who you are, and then nice and clearly, because the noise here is pretty poor, ask your question. So, any questions? Oh, good. We'll go down the front here to start with, and then you, Matt.
Hi, my name is Chris Scott from 3050. My question is, you said how to reach them. I think you said that they don't like to interact from in social media in terms of purchase decisions. What's the effective way of reaching them, particularly the wide connected and the mainstream middle? I don't care about Jack, sorry mate.
So how do you reach these people? Okay, well, if I just run a little bit of interference for a second while they think about their answers. I think what would be interesting to know, guys, is where you kind of pick up information and the kind of things that you use to make a decision about buying wine, and also if it is any different when you're buying other stuff. James, you want to kick off?
Yeah, I think out of the last few bottles that I bought that I really enjoyed, they came from wine lists and restaurants. They came from wine lists and restaurants. I tasted them, tried them on, took a chance on them, tried them, tasted them, enjoyed them, found them online. Like I say, I do read some online criticisms, but I don't. I'm sort of lost in a wine magazine. So I look for it. It doesn't come to me. But yeah, I think the stuff I'm genuinely interested in, I source from restaurant wine.
Nicola.
Well, with no time in my hands, is actually where you can find me. So at home, through television, advertisement, magazines when I'm waiting for the doctor or for something, and even an ad on a bus would do for me. It would catch my eye, like if I'm on my way home and I just see a delicious package of wine, I will try and look up. I will try and look for it. And offers, as many offers as possible, please. I just had a baby.
Thank you very much. Maybe here.
I'm Louise from Nightingale, and my question is for Jimbo. James. I'm really sort of keen to understand a little bit more in terms of the sources that he is looking up on the phone. Is it blogs? He's just said it's not decanter necessarily, but when he's reaching into his pocket and looking on the phone, where is he going? Where is he getting that media from? Is it specific? Is it more blog related, peer related, or is it mainstream titles? And I'd also then be interested to know as well, in terms of other forms of media consumption, what magazines does he read? Bearing in mind that he said, wine magazines aren't for him. What other kinds of media consumption does he trust?
Thank you very much. So I guess the question is, James, what else? Where else are you reading? When you look stuff up on your phone, where does it generally come from?
Well, like I say, anything specifically targeted in the wine industry is essentially baffling to me. I can read the first few sentences in an article written by a wine professional, and I'll tail off. If I had to answer in one word, I'd say blogs. I think blogs are a great place to go. They're connected. You can go to Blogspot or WordPress, type in your search terms, and what you've got a dozen or so things to choose from. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
Are you reading?
Again, those are all online.
TV or media?
I don't want to film it. I read a few of the bigger sort of online magazines, Jezebel and stuff. I'm not hugely into it though. I read literature and I work. Sort of the end of the sentence.
As you see, James is a particular character. I would probably just add to that they will probably add subscription to one or two mainstream magazines, the sort of GQ, Esquire type of thing. But actually, the problem, as James points out, is actually very rarely got time to read them. They will read online editions of, Metro and the Times and the daily newspapers on their way to work. It will be a skim read rather than a real sort of involved reflection. And generally speaking, the wiredness that you see in them is generally they want to go fish for something when it's needed. They don't necessarily want to reflect. They're not readers in the sense of reflective readers. They are sort of magpies. They're going to find something that's interesting or to share with friends. So if something interesting is happening in their world, like there's a wine tasting that sounds fun, they'll tweet that or share that with their friends. Okay. Ooh, lots of questions. Lady there, and then you two over there.
Hi, I'm Madeline Waters from Wines of Lebanon. My question, sorry, others, is probably for James again. I just wondered how likely would he be to try wines from sort of emerging and undiscovered regions, and if he was likely to do so, what would prompt him? Would it be peer-to-peer recommendation, or would it be something he's read?
That's an excellent question. James, what have you tried recently that is sort of unusual or different?
I absolutely follow recommendations from friends and family. Yeah, I mean, it really is. It really can be sometimes for me as simple as an interesting label will bring me in. I remember a couple of weeks ago I bought a bottle which they just had a checkerboard for a label, no information on it. Bought it, took it home. It was great. No idea what it was. But yes, absolutely. I'll follow up on any recommendation somebody has. I'll make my own judgment afterwards, but I'll follow a recommendation.
I think that if I can also direct that question to our mainstream in the making, what would make you try something new?
I think it's basically the appearance of it. So if someone recommends it and it's on the right price, I will definitely try it. I don't have any problem trying something new. If I was to choose myself, I rarely choose myself, so I rarely make a decision without a recommendation. But if I was to do that, how it looks, it would be possibly the way to go. So a fine bottle with a nice label in a nice package would catch my eye.
I'm going to have to press you on that. So what does a nice bottle look like to you? What's it look like? Does it look like a checkerboard like James said?
I mean, it has to be a little bit different. There are bottles. So there's this bottle, for example, which is a nice shape, but it's a very common shape. I like my bottles curvy.
Excellent, thank you very much. Gentleman over there, and then David.
Yeah, hi, Tim White from Halstead in Scandinavia. I'm curious that there's been no mention of organic wines, of fair trade, ethical wines. I was interested to know what the team think about that. And also about packaging. Would they consider, for example, buying a wine in a PET bottle instead of a standard glass bottle? My two questions.
Two excellent questions. Let's do organic and fair trade first. And actually, can I start with Sarah first of all? Because I guess my understanding is that you're reasonably eco-conscious, you kind of understand what's going on. Does that kind of make any impact when it comes to buying wine?
The wines that I know and love aren't organic. I'm not sure how adventurous I would feel buying something that is, because they don't tend to be more mainstream brands, so you're never really going to know what you're going to get. Unless it was on special operatives.
Okay, let's put it another way. If Echo Falls was to come in an organic bottle, would that be the one that you'd want to buy, or would you still stick to the Echo Falls that you know?
If it was on promotion, yeah, I'd try it.
And if you liked it?
Yeah, I'd buy it again.
But the mere fact that it's organic or fair trade, would that make you change your mind?
I get fair trade coffee, so yeah, maybe I'll take it. Yeah.
Okay. James, this probably is a question again for you. Organic fair trade, does that register?
It certainly registers. I mean, I don't go out of my way to pay attention to it, but I'd like to be able to. I like the idea of presenting that to someone at a party. So that I've got a bottle of organic Burgundy. Yeah.
Okay. Any of you from you, Nicola?
Absolutely, I would definitely go for it. I mean, any way I can help, I would definitely go for it. Whether it was what was the question about the bottle?
Well,
the second
we'll come to that
right.
in a second. So just organic and fair trade?
Yes, I would definitely support that. I also buy organic coffee, fair trade coffee, so yes, absolutely. My only problem is that it's always a bit more expensive, so I won't be able to buy it for a while, but I will definitely have it in mind, and I will definitely try and go for it whenever I can.
So the second half of the question was buying wine in PET, plastic bottles that they look like normal bottles, but they're made of plastic, not glass. Well, Jack, we haven't really heard very much from you. When you buy wine, would it be okay to buy it in a plastic bottle?
I suppose it depends what you're buying the wine for. If you're buying a bottle of wine to take for a picnic or something in the summer, and it's better for the environment, it's better for disposing of to take a plastic bottle, but I certainly wouldn't ever take a plastic bottle to a house party because I'd be a little bit embarrassed about serving up something in plastic. I mean, I'd never serve drinks in plastic cups either because I don't think it's a done thing.
Sarah, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, do they look like glass?
Most of the time.
Right, yeah.
But generally speaking, they're a bit smaller.
Right,
Because
yeah.
and they've got the same amount of liquid in it. They don't look as big. So as Jack says, they're lightweight and just a little bit smaller than a glass bottle.
I guess I would, yeah, because again, that will probably reduce the cost of the bottle, so yeah, I don't wouldn't really bother me.
So if the cost of the bottle was also low, that would help.
Yeah.
Okay. Nicola?
Well, I don't know. I think you're the perfect audience to ask, actually. I've heard that plastic is not good for wine in terms of like glass is better. The wine in a glass bottle tastes better than in a plastic one. So I would probably avoid it.
Okay, James, do you have a view on this?
Strangely enough, I find myself more or less in line with Jack's opinion, actually. Yeah, anytime. Yeah, I'd take it for a picnic. Certainly I wouldn't host with it. And yeah, if I ordered wine in a restaurant and it was supposed to be in a plastic bottle, I'd be furious.
Thank you very much. Good question. David?
David Trowbridge from Nottingham. A simple question for all of them. What is your favourite wine brand? And if you can't name a favourite wine brand, when you think of wine, what is the first brand that comes to mind?
Okay, so the question is, what's your favourite wine brand? And if you can't think of a favourite, what's the first one that you can just think of, even if it isn't a favourite? The one that's the top of your mind. Let's start with Nicola, and then Sarah. You've kind of given us an answer, but you'll have to choose between them. Jack, what's your go-to? And James, what's this week's favourite? Okay.
Castillero y Diablo, I think. White mostly, and Black Tower. the bubbly one?
I think I'm going for Echo Falls because they do a really nice rosé. Yeah.
Jack?
It's quite interesting actually talking about the bottle designs because there's so many different wines that I really find it hard to remember what I've had. But there was one very distinguishable bottle that was kind of a snake shape from Jean Winery, which I had when I was doing a promotion job, and it was really nice wine, but I remembered it because of the shape of the bottle. So,
Okay. James?
Well, I'm not huge on brands, but I'll tell you what's popped into my head, which is Carpe Vinum. Yeah, really nice Tempranillo. If I want something affordable, that's where I'll go.
Okay. There you go then. Hello.
Thank you. Ben Freeman from the Wine Institute of California. This is a question for everyone really except James. How susceptible are the panel to indirect celebrity endorsements? For example, if it became known that David Beckham had a certain brand of Prosecco or something he liked drinking, would that influence their buying decisions?
Okay, can we shape that question a little bit more, which is, would that make a difference if it was anyone? And if it did, who would it be, perhaps? Who would be the celebrity that you would trust? Yeah?
Yes, is it a question, would they actually be influenced by somebody? You know how sometimes it becomes known, like David Beckham was known to launch a whiskey, would that make them go out and buy it? Or would they do it indirectly?
And if you're against the idea of actually celebrity endorsement, just give us a celebrity that you kind of admire and you feel that you're sort of aligned with, I suppose. And James doesn't get to answer this question. No? Okay. Sorry, mate. Jack, let's start with you.
well, it's interesting you bring up David Beckham because I brought one of his t-shirts the other day and it was rubbish. So, but I still bought it because David Beckham's an iconic figure. Maybe film icons as well, like get James Bond involved in a particular wine brand or something, then I'd be more inclined to maybe try it. I think using iconic sports and film figures would definitely draw my attention much more than maybe Sex and the City or something would.
Sarah, Sex and the City, would that
actually, I was going to say something like, if I saw it in something like Sex and the City, or if I saw it in a film, definitely, or if it was somebody like a female celebrity, someone like J-Lo or Beyonce, and it was something that was like an elegant evening drink, then yeah, that would work for me, because I feel like it's quite a sophisticated thing to do. Yeah.
Okay. Nicola?
Well, I'm on Twitter, so I do follow up a lot of celebrities just to see what they're doing. I'm telling you, if Tom Hiddleston had a favourite wine, I would definitely go for it.
So if he tweets, I'm drinking this, then you'd say, okay,
I would definitely try it at least.
Yeah, okay. And you're not allowed to answer this question, James, but if you were allowed to answer this question, what would you say? What iconic figures are there in your life?
I suppose I'd say a similar thing to Nicola there. If I found out that, say, Anthony Hopkins had a preference for a certain Shiraz, then I'd try it. But I don't think I'd do it on the back of an endorsement.
Okay, so they would have to do it sort of au naturel, as it were. Yeah. Okay.
Like you say, find out through Twitter. That would make
great question. Thank you. We've got time for about 2 or 3 more questions. Gentleman over there, lady here.
Well, holding broadbent, I'm a wine importer in America, and actually we had a very similar study commissioned by Virginia, VCU in Virginia, and they slight comment on my question. They basically said they would not want any old wine writers telling them what to drink, not have their parents telling them what to drink, and it was all mostly social media. But right now in America, the hipsters are very, very influential as a group of sommeliers. And do you have that influence here? And the other part of my question is, does alcohol levels have any influence on
two questions there. Kind of who amongst your peers are influencing you? And maybe thinking about the last time you bought a new bottle that wasn't, just because it was on offer, who suggested that to you? Or how did you find out about it? So let's just cover that one off first. You guys choose that.
Okay, my best friend, she went on holidays and she tried the new white. So she brought a bottle back, and that's how I got to try it. If it's not that, when it comes to reds, because I'm not a very huge fan of reds, it's my husband. He's very into his reds.
I don't really go to these trendy wine bars or anything, so I don't experience wine like that. Some of my friends are a bit more clued up on wine if they recommend something to me, or say I try something around the girlfriend's parents' house when we have dinner, they bring out a nice bottle of wine and I try it then I'd consider buying it again in the future, but generally there's not a young crowd that particularly influences my wine habits, because I don't go in those sorts of places.
Sorry, go on.
I've had it before that you get late to a meeting with friends and they've already ordered the wine. A lot of the time I'm really put out by it, because I'm expecting one flavour and it's completely different, and then you're kind of stuck with it, and then they order another bottle and it's the same thing, and I'm like, oh. A couple of times, like Wetherspoons do a lot of good wines, I think, so sometimes if I'm there and someone's like, oh, this was really nice, then I would try it, and it has happened a few times I've tried something that I've liked.
Well, like I say, I learned about wine largely from my parents, and yeah, I still listen to their opinions, and I trust my elders. They've probably got a more refined palate than me. That said, I work as a senior executive in a media company. We throw a lot of dues, a lot of work dues, and it's someone's turn to go out and select and get the wine every couple of weeks, and we discover and discuss. So co-workers probably be the main input. That's it.
And then there was another part to your question, Robert.
Alcohol levels.
Yeah, alcohol levels. Does anyone, Nicola, did that?
Drink with my food, always. Like, well, not so much now because of the baby, but we used to have a glass of wine with our lunch and dinner. Now it's only dinner. But it's definitely almost every day.
So actually that's a very good in character answer, because what we're asking about is actually the ABV, the alcohol level in the bottle of wine. Is that something you pay attention to?
Oh, sorry. I'd rather have a mild one now with a baby. I didn't mind before, but now I do. Now I do mind. I don't want to wake up with a horrible headache or not hear my baby cry, because I'll be dead.
Sarah, is alcohol level in wine something that concerns you?
I don't normally look at that, and it has happened a few times that I've had a couple of glasses of wine and suddenly I'm much more tipsy than I expected to be. So yeah, it's something I should probably pay a bit more attention to.
Yeah. James?
Never crossed my mind.
Now, I read somewhere that if you have higher levels of alcohol, that means it's better wine. Would that be something that you would agree with?
Googling it now. Googling it.
Okay, while he looks it up, we've time for one more question. Actually, well, let's just take two, last two. Lady in pink there, lady in purple over there.
I was wondering what your thoughts are towards, like, really on the labelling side of things, so away from brands, towards like quirky, colourful, funky label designs, and also if you think there's enough of them on offer in supermarkets and shops.
Can you just take it to the CMOC screen?
Oh, sorry, I'm Laura Stafford from the Co-op.
Thank you. So, funky, interesting, quirky, how does that work for you, Jack?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially when you're in a wine section and you don't know what you're looking for or where to look first. If there's something a little bit more fun and quirky that catches your eye, then I'd be more inclined to go to that first and at least pick it it up and then, you know, look at the price up. So yeah, it'll be a good starting point. And it's also a talking piece that take around your friend's house as well.
Sarah, how would it work for you?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's one of the key things that would make me try a new wine. If it was, you know, with the same price margin, if it had like a nice colourful label, sometimes they've got like little graphic animals or something like that. Definitely, I definitely stay away from the really plain, normal labels because they're normally too sour. So yeah.
Okay, Nicholas, is it across your mind?
I would only take it with for a night in with the girls, just to, you know, because we do like to try wines when we're sitting, just the four of us, and everyone brings one different bottle of wine, so we get to try all wines. That was before the baby, though. No, I don't think I would do it anymore. Yeah.
James, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, certainly. Like I mentioned with that checkerboard bottle, certainly I'd give it a go. But I'm aware it's a gimmick. I think of it as a sort of separate thing from my appreciation of wine. I'd like to bring that to a party, to the right kind of party.
So, how to qualify the response there?
Can I add
sure.
something
Sure.
on that question? I'm sorry. It's not that I wouldn't be interested. It's not that I would never go for it. It's just that I don't think it's something that I would take to a party, to someone. I would probably try it myself, but not take it to a party.
Thank you very much. Great question. Last question. Lady, all over there.
Hi, Jess from Waitrose Cellar. There was a bit of discussion earlier, you mentioned earlier about open label wines, and I'm just wondering what panel's opinions are on open label brands.
So this is a question about own label. Well, first of all, are any of you buying own label recently? Have you bought some own label from a supermarket? James, have you bought own label?
Well, this is Tesco's finest, which I don't entirely know what that means. I don't know if that just means it's been selected by Tesco to be in their finest range. Certainly, I wouldn't buy anything with Sainsbury's white wine. So no, I'd stay away from that. I mean, I like to keep my price range higher, so I'm sort of away from those already.
So so to just press you on that for a second, James, if there was a bottle of wine that said, the question is from Waitrose, so it says, Chateauneuf de Pape, specially selected by Waitrose. Would that be alright?
Yeah, that could well get my attention.
Okay,
I wouldn't be turned away from it just because it's selected by Waitrose.
Okay.
Would try it, definitely, but I wouldn't try anything that wasn't from Ocado, actually. I mean, or suggested by them, because I do really trust them. So if it wasn't Waitrose, I would probably not trust it. I have to be careful now not to have a hangover. So, yeah.
Okay. Sarah?
Yeah, I would. But I think it would depend again. Like the Asda's, they actually do a really good deal, or if you get the packet ones, the box ones, and they're actually okay. But I wouldn't go for the cheapest one because they're normally a little bit, I know the flavour's not that nice of those. So.
Jack, and label for you?
Oh yeah, I'd consider it, but I wouldn't pick up a bottle that's plastered with the name of the supermarket you bought it from or whatever, because you take that around to a house party or give it to a friend and the first thing they see is, oh, he shops in Asda. Nice. Do you know what I mean? Or wherever. So no, I mean I'm fine with own brand wines as long as it's not overly plastered or over label.
So, I think that was a useful answer. I'm afraid time is against us, so it just remains for me to do, well, three things. First of all, thanks to our sponsors again around the wine fair, and then second, thanks to you for taking the time out of your busy days. And third, and most importantly, I would very much like you to put your hands together for our actors, who are George Colley, Michael Green,